And a very happy Monday to you at 12:07 in the West. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, even though we're still in the middle of this fire crisis and we're soon to be in the middle of an insurance crisis, you should be aware that Gavin Newsom is mindful about the FAIR Plan for a very interesting reason.
Just a week ago, a major insurer announced they were reinsuring in Paradise, California, where the campfire was, because people repopulated. Farmers said they were coming back. So we are very mindful of that, and that's why the FAIR Plan is that backup plan, but I'm also mindful of this as someone on the FAIR Plan.
Gavin's on the FAIR Plan.
No kidding. Well, I don't think we've heard anything official about the FAIR Plan, but we did have Assembly Republican leader James Gallagher on last week, who said that the FAIR Plan is bankrupt whether they want to admit it or not.
Apparently, the FAIR Plan liability for just the Palisades fire, forget the Eaton fire, because a lot of the Palisades fire people were on the FAIR Plan, is $6 billion. Just that fire.
And a lot of people in rural Northern California, like Gavin Newsom, are on the FAIR Plan, although we don't know if he's referring to his home in Fair Oaks in the Sacramento area or his home in Marin County. It's my understanding that the home in Marin County, where he's living now, is actually owned by relatives of his and not him himself.
I want to see his insurance plan. What is he paying?
Well, and if the FAIR Plan goes belly up, he's going to get blamed for that because that's the state plan. So in theory, he's the one that's running it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Hopefully, everyone did okay this weekend. The winds died down from where they were earlier in the week. And, Randy, we made some progress on some of those fires.
We also have seen more devastation. 19 confirmed fatalities, might be as high as 22 so far. Over 12,300 structures destroyed between the Palisades and the Eaton fire. But here are the latest numbers of the active fires in Southern California. The Palisades fire, 23,713 acres, 14% containment. The Eaton fire is at 14,117 acres burned, 33% containment. And that one in Silmar is almost fully contained. So if nothing sparks today or tomorrow with the incredibly high winds that are starting, we might get a handle on this. But the fear today is that it's windy again.
Okay, so the winds are supposed to start, what, on Tuesday and then go into Wednesday morning?
No, they already started.
Okay. Where did I read that, where it was supposed to go into Wednesday morning?
That's when I think it all ends. But the wind started up again last night.
Okay. So if you're in a fire zone area, which is essentially all of Southern California, but anywhere near any of these fires that are currently burning, pay attention to the news. I know it's exhausting. I know you're going to want to go home and watch some trash TV, watch some Real Housewives, watch some sports, watch something that'll take your mind off of all of the chaos going on around you. But if and when you have to evacuate your home, be ready. All your documents, your social security number or card, your passport, anything of value at your house, if you're in any of those areas, just please do some forward planning. Get everything together in a box in case you have to leave, because these fires move fast when it's windy. And it's windy, and it's going to get windier, and it's not going to stop until Wednesday morning. So just be prepared. Make sure there's gasoline in your car. Make sure you have some cash on you. Make sure you've talked to someone in Orange County or the Inland Empire or some other part of the state so you have a place to go to. You're better off planning ahead and not reacting to a crisis. All right, so over the weekend, Gavin Newsom made his rounds. This is the CYA Gavin Newsom for President 2028 tour.
Gavin, on Friday, did 10 minutes in front of the Palisades fire with Alex Michelson. He, on Sunday morning, did 20 minutes with Meet the Press in front of the Eaton fire. And Friday afternoon, he went to Malibu to do a 40-minute interview with Pod Save America, which was surprisingly the one he talked about Trump the least.
And those are the Obama bros.
Yeah, the podcast is hosted by a former Obama consultant.
So, of course, you go on a campaign podcast because you're thinking about the next election and not the crisis at hand.
Where would you like to start, Johnny? Alex, Meet the Press, or Pod Save America?
Let's start with our pal Alex.
All right, let's hear what Gavin told Alex about the devastating fires. This aired live on Fox 11 on Friday and also aired on The Issue Is on Fox 11 and KTVU Fox 2 in the Bay Area.
Governor Newsom, good to see you. Not great to see you under these circumstances. As you stand here, look around, what goes through your mind?
Well, just a complete and utter devastation. Memories, mementos.
Mementos?
Like tchotchkes?
Traditions, lifestyle, all of it gone. I mean, it's overwhelming. And respectfully, from someone that's been to a lot of these, I mean, Tubbs Fire, I thought I'd never seen anything like that. 5,600 structures destroyed. And then, of course, Camp, 18,000, 85 lives lost. But the scale of this, the scope, and the fact that we have...
What's the common thread throughout all those fires?
There's a guy in charge who is interested in other subjects.
5 active fires we're battling now. It's just extraordinary.
Alex then asked about what rebuilding is going to look like once we get these fires put out.
Rebuilding, not going to be easy. We know building housing in California is not always easy.
Yep.
Is there red tape that you can cut through to make rebuilding here move faster? If so, what specifically is that going to look like?
We're looking at a series of executive orders. We're looking at a series of legislative pathways to absolutely focus and streamline all of that and really target. I want to do it statewide, of course. I've been working on this for years. 42 CEQA reforms. We're going to do more, but right now.
Now you finally can take down CEQA and the Coastal Commission? I don't think so.
Okay, as someone who just did a remodel, let me tell you, if he thinks the process has been reformed and the process is easy, he's on crack.
How long have you been homeless?
Well, in Gavin Newsom's California, all of us get our turn.
I want to do it statewide, of course. I've been working on this for years, 42 CEQA reforms. We're going to do more. But right now, it's focusing on the rebuild and recovery. Of course, a big part of that is prepping the site, getting all the debris removal done, dealing with the hazardous waste, getting that done as quickly as possible, getting those contracts in order. At the same time, simultaneous getting the individual assistance, the small business loans and the like, moving. At the same time we're doing that, we're already working now on executive orders and working with the legislative leadership. I was just talking about...
Wait, I thought they're in a special session to Trump-proof California.
Oh, yes, because that's more important than the fires.
I was just talking about legislative leaders on how we move to streamline that entire process. By the way, that includes some of the Coastal Commission work, particularly out here on the coast, where it's obvious that's going to be a huge issue, too.
I mean, so what?
Now California's ineptitude to build anything is going to be on an international spotlight, so change has got to be made, or he will not go anywhere in his political future.
Okay, so this particular clip, the one that we just played you, went everywhere over the weekend. Gavin Newsom saying he's going to streamline the process and allow it so that you can rebuild your home without going through all of the existing red tape. I'll tell you why I think he's full of it. Historically speaking, Gavin Newsom is big on the grand proclamations. He makes a proclamation, he generates a lot of attention, and then there is no follow-through. 3 different instances come to mind, but I bet you if you sat here and you thought about it, you could come up with more. Remember when he was under fire during the recall campaign? Larry Elder was gaining steam. There were, I think, 2 or 3 polls that showed Gavin Newsom losing the recall election. He knew at that point that he had to get minority voters to come out and vote for him in large numbers. Otherwise, he was toast. So that's when he said the next U.S. Senator from California would be a black female. And remember the big press conference about reparations. Gavin Newsom promised reparations. Not some pittance that then was reclassified to reparations. He promised reparations. And he did the cable news circuit, and he had the press conference, and he issued the statements, and he was on social media. and he generated as much publicity as humanly possible. And then what happened? They realized the obvious, which is that the state of California can't afford anything close to that. So let's just study it and then kick the can down the road. And then let's study it some more and kick the can down the road. And then let's study it some more and kick the can down on the road. What was crazy to me was that people actually believed him. People believed that they were getting reparations checks. And then that never came because that's Newsom. How about abortion? Remember when the Supreme Court decision on abortion came down and it turned out that Arizona had a more restrictive abortion policy than California? He had a big press conference. He did the cable news circuit where he said, if you're an abortion provider in Arizona, you can come into California and perform your abortions in California, and we will take care of you. He was a hero to the pro-choice community because he was being so proactive. And then it was just reported that exactly 0 abortion providers from Arizona came into California to provide abortions. 0. There was no follow-through. Gavin Newsom made a big deal about closing down all of the state's nuclear facilities, including Diablo Canyon. California was going to move away from nuclear. He was big on social media. He had the press conference. He did his rounds on cable news. He's the green governor. He wants to get rid of nuclear power. And then guess what? He keeps extending it because, after all, we need it. This is what Gavin Newsom does. He doesn't care about the follow-through. He cares about the optics because the guy is a sociopath.
I mean, so what specifically does that look like?
We're working.
Good on Alex for asking, can you give us a specific instead of your grandiose headlines that don't mean anything?
I mean, so what specifically does that look like?
We're working through old strategies that we did up in Paradise. These are more contemporary strategies of focusing on one-stop shopping, making sure that we have an expedited approval process to make.
We're experts at having the state burned down and having to rebuild. He's done it so many times.
Okay, well, I could tell you, I know multiple people whose homes have burned down in Malibu, and they will all tell you that the process of rebuilding was a complete and total nightmare.
Have an expedited approval process to make sure that we're dealing with a myriad of issues.
Well, and even if this was the best regulatory world that you could imagine, how exactly are we going to have enough contractors and construction workers to rebuild this many homes at once?
Oh, no. And just wait until they get their hands on that. Well, you're going to try to rebuild your house without unionized workers, huh? Well, we'll see about that.
That we're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in.
Oh, developers are going to buy the whole Palisades and all of Altadena and turn it into giant towers. They're going to mow down the Santa Monica Mountains if you let them.
Oh, if you have been to Maui since the fires and talked to any of the locals, they have the hot hate of 1,000 suns at their government for what has happened there. Because in Maui, they rezoned things. You had different developers that came in and started buying up property. It was already expensive to live there. Now, good luck.
Coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
One thing he did say in one of the later interviews, and I want to make sure that it is captured and people can play it back if he goes back on it, he claimed that if you do rebuild, your property tax should stay at what it was, the original rate, not a reassessed rate with a new home. He better not backtrack on that one.
We should put that on the website because they're totally going to backtrack on that.
Let's hear what Gavin had to say about a very relevant topic that we have been talking about for over 2 years here on a regular basis, insurance.
And in terms of insurance, are you think that what the state has right now is adequate to deal with this situation? And if not,
It's not, Alex.
Not even close.
What specifically needs to change when it comes to insurance?
Well, we haven't even had a chance to get in and do the assessment, so we have to do the assessment. So that's number one, and then we'll be able to answer that question. But the scale and scope and the value of these homes is off the charts. So it's profound. The FAIR Plan has a reinsurance component. The FAIR Plan has a component of a requirement as it relates to how it's pooled that shares with other people that are in the market, that they have a responsibility as it relates to anything that goes above and beyond the reinsurance. So
what that means is the FAIR Plan, if it goes broke, has to be bailed out by the insurance companies that are in the state. And those insurance companies can then pass on the cost to every single ratepayer in the state.
At what point do people in other states start to get tired of us? Because it's not just the FAIR Plan that could go under due to these fires. Other insurance companies could go under because of all of their liabilities that they're going to have to pay out on.
We are one or two disasters away from this whole house of cards called insurance completely failing and not even making any sense anymore because it'll be too expensive for anyone to actually have it.
Let's just say that you live in, I don't know, Burlington, Vermont, but you have a policy through a company that does business in California. Are your rates going to explode in Burlington, Vermont because of the fires in California?
We obviously are stress testing that, and not just the insurance commissioner. We had a team 2 days ago already working on this, but we have to assess the actual value. There's been wild estimates up to $57 billion, but on the basis of what? That's the basis of aerial.
One fire is about a quarter of California's budget.
It's the costliest in United States history, and it's the largest fire in the history of Los Angeles County.
But on the basis of what? That's the basis of aerial assessments, not a real detailed understanding of what's happened on the ground.
I mean, do you have a sort of an idea of what this is all going to cost?
Everybody has got No one does. I mean, it's literally when you see a number like that, it's wild speculation. It's astronomical. It's unprecedented. That's not a numeric, but there can't be a numeric until you get the teams on the ground. Right now, we're still fighting again 5 active fires.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to go back into the vault and find a show that's not fire-related, that's easy to do.
Just go to KABC.com, click on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. Do a Google on the YouTube or get that handy-dandy KABC app. Search KABC AM in the Apple App Store or the Android Store. It's the easiest way to listen live to this radio station and download all the podcasts. And I know our memories are short. You might think that we're in the apocalyptic end times. I just want to remind you, you can go back 4 years and listen to all our COVID shows.
I have a hard time understanding.
And Randy, we're on the move in the Bay Area.
So how cool is this? We do a version of the Fix California Hour weeknights at 11 on KSFO in the Bay Area. KSFO has moved from AM 560 to AM 810. That's a bigger, stronger signal. You can hear it all throughout Northern California. At night, when other stations power down, that signal is so good, you can hear it crystal clear in Southern California. So make a preset next to 790 for 810. And if you're driving around at 11 o'clock at night, give it a listen.
If you'd like to weigh in, give us a call at 800-222-5222. Let's begin with Julie in Canoga Park. Julie, hello.
Hello. Hi. I'm sorry to hear about the fires and everything, but my husband and I were talking over the weekend, and he pointed out that it would take years to build up these areas, number one, because of the building code, because he's in safety building, the city of LA for safety department building coding. And number two, he said it wouldn't surprise him is that some of these people do have extra homes or one or two homes, that they'll start buying up the land next to pennies to the dollar. And that once that happens, they'll build and they'll flip their homes for a profit. These new homes they're building. And that would not surprise them at all at this point, because everybody's out for greed or trying to profit themselves. And some of these homes are passed on from generation to generation, so they're not able to build their homes. My sister went to the Malibu fire in, I think it's Woolsey Canyon, and she was on the south side of the beach. And what happened is that when the fire came, they were told to evacuate, and she couldn't evacuate her. He wanted to stay at the house. So he did with a group of neighbors, but the people who evacuated, their houses were burned down, And they just finally, through the Coastal Commission permits and the building codes and so forth, insurance money or whatever, they finally just moved in last year.
I've been thinking about this all weekend. I don't know if you heard it, but we had a caller on Friday's program who's a homeowner in Pacific Palisades who just lost his home in the fire. And he said that essentially everything is gone there. His home is gone, his church is gone, his kid's school is gone, their neighbors' homes are gone. Everything that made that neighborhood special for him is no longer there. And he said that he and his wife are of a certain age. He didn't give the age, but by that remark, I assumed he's retired or at least approaching retirement. And he said he doesn't know if he wants to spend his time trying to rebuild his home, that he spoke with a professional in that world, and he was told that it would likely take between 3 and 5 years for him to rebuild his home and get it to a place where he can actually move back in. And he doesn't think he wants to spend his time doing that. So my guess is he will move on to a different city, a different neighborhood, a different house, and try to pick up his life as best he can. If it were me, I think age would play a huge role in what my plans were. If I was 55 or older, I don't think I would rebuild my house. I think I would sell it to whoever wanted it, whoever was willing to pay me the most, and I would move on some other place, because coastal Los Angeles is always going to be worth something. Even if something bad like this happens, you're going to make money, especially if you've owned it for a very long period of time, from selling the house, from whatever check you get from the insurance company. You'll end up being okay. But having the obligation of having to try to get a construction project through on ecologically damaged and very fragile land is just not something I would be interested in. Maybe if I was younger, maybe if I had a family, maybe if, I don't know, I thought that I could live there for another 40 years, I would do it. But it's just, it just takes the wind out of your sails to have something like this happen. You feel like you're totally defeated. And if you move to a different area and you just start fresh, I just think psychologically it would be healthier for me. It would be easier for me to just get my life back on track. And that's probably what I would end up doing.
My other question is this regarding insurance-wise, because I knew there was a fire recently up north, not like really up north, but close to L.A., and some of those people were considered fire zones, so the insurance companies pulled out. I don't know whether this is a rumor or not. So they went to the direct insurance from the state, but they weren't covered, I heard someone told me, because it was considered arson, and the insurance policy does not cover arson, even though you didn't actually do the arson. Actually, someone did it 10 miles away, and the wind blew that way. Is that true or not?
I have not heard that. That's not to say it's not true.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on insurance. At some point, we should bring an expert on insurance on the program and just take calls and answer questions, because I know so many of you have questions about that right now. We should do that. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Marlena in Canyon Country. Hello.
Hi. I have just want to mention that nobody mentions the money here. The money of the socialist liberals who just got thrown out of office, they're going to be fighting like crazy to keep their jobs. It's a money thing. You know, it's like nobody mentions this, but when the government says, or the socialists say, they're going to make a job, it's not a job. It's a tax expense, because the government doesn't have any money. It's our money they're spending. When they decide to do something, the government was supposed to be set up in this country just to protect, just police, just fires, just, these things. That's all the money's supposed to be spent on, not for making gay people a happy home somewhere out. For them to vote all these crazy, stupid things in, it's to teach the kids porn in grammar school. Excuse me, they get out of school and they can't read and write.
What neighborhood are we building the free gay homes in?
Oh, yeah, they were building them in some other country even, with government money.
Like Aruba?
Like we're voting for this.
Now, what exactly is a gay home? Is that a home that's attracted to another home, but not an apartment?
It's living expenses were covered in some form. It was on AM 640. They have the information on that. They were just talking about it.
Oh, there's your first mistake.
Oh, really? Well, anyway, I mean, for them to be spending money the way they do on crazy things, that's not how they're supposed to spend money.
If I identify as gay, can I get a free home?
I guess so. According to AM 640, no, I don't think it wasn't in this state. It wasn't in this state. Okay. It was for people who needed homes in some country. I don't know where, but it was.
But you have to be gay.
In our money. I guess so.
All right. Thank you for the call.
Boy, I knew KFI was going through some tough times when they lost their news department, but I didn't realize that they were broadcasting information about gay homes.
Yeah. What bill was it that gave gay homes away in another country? Oh, I remember. The Non-Intercourse Act. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Mike writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Gay homes. What a mixed bag us listeners are. Can't make this crap up. I do admire her dedication to day drinking. Hey, you know what? This week has been so devastating. If I wasn't on the air right now, I'd be getting sauced.
I didn't know there was such a thing as gay homes.
Robert writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Maybe she misheard it. Maybe on KFI she heard them saying gay homos.
Now, that would make sense.
What show is this?
It's got to be Coast to Coast. Now, when it comes to identity, I can understand how a home can certainly check that box. For example, Randy, I had a 3-bedroom home that identified as a 4-bedroom home on Zillow. All I needed to do was install a door and boom, another bedroom. Randy, we have some breaking news regarding the Eaton fire.
It looks like 2 different lawsuits have been filed this morning against SoCal Edison in connection with the Eaton fire. A statement released by Richard Bridgeford of Bridgeford, Gleason, and Artinian said, based on our investigation, our discussions with various consultants, the public statements of SCE, and the video evidence of the fire's origin, we believe the Eaton fire was ignited because of SoCal Edison's failure to de-energize its overhead wires, which traverse Eaton Canyon despite a red flag PDS wind warning issued by the National Weather Service the day before the ignition of the fire. We'll see if the official investigation blames this on SoCal Edison, but for right now, 2 different lawsuits have been filed going after SoCal Edison.
If you're Southern California Edison, right now, your best defense in court for these lawsuits, I would imagine, and I'm not an attorney, would be someone to be arrested for arson and a prosecution to take place. But if there's no prosecution, and it looks like Southern California Edison might be responsible for the origins of the fire, they're going to have to pay out. And, of course, this wouldn't be the first time, if these lawsuits are accurate, that an electric company was responsible for a large-scale fire. We know, for example, that PG&E was held criminally responsible in at least one case for a fire that their faulty equipment started in Northern California.
And we've seen this with SoCal Edison equipment that burned down large portions of Ventura County a few years ago. So it's not out of left field to blame this on the utility company, but we'll see in the next few days if they make that the official designation of what caused this fire. Because once these things have burned out, once we finally have cleaned up the fires, we got to find out what happened and make sure it never happens again. Of course, this is California, so that's not happening.